speaker up here, his name is Thomas Crabtree. Thomas is a junior at Loyola University Chicago, studying environmental policy with minors in environmental communication and urban studies. He's originally from Annapolis, Maryland, and he has a passion for environmental issues that grew out of his love and concern for the Chesapeake Bay nearby. And Thomas at Loyola serves as the secretary of the Student Environmental Alliance and Restoration Club, and he's an intern in Loyola's Office of Sustainability. Let's hear it for Thomas!
Thank you, everybody. I encourage you to get loud, hold up your signs. I encourage you, if you're able to stand up. We're here for a reason. Let's make our voices heard. As we gather, I want you to become aware of where we are. Yes, we're here in front of the Capitol building, making a statement about what it is we believe in, but we're also standing down the road from the Potomac River, a tributary to the Chesapeake Bay, which is the largest estuary in the United States, in an ecosystem that millions of people depend on and is home to thousands of organisms. The bay is where I first experienced the beauty that is within the natural world, but also where I realized the effect that humans can have on the environment. So I invite you to take a moment now, ground yourself in this place here. Feel the sun on your face. What can you hear? Maybe a cool breeze blows past. What is it that you see? Think about how despite all the hectic energy of the city, the river still flows, the fish still swim, the trees are swaying in the wind, and the birds are migrating overhead. Recall that it's our bodily senses that connect us to the earth, and remember that we as humans can never be separate from nature. We're integrally connected to her, we depend on her, and in turn, we have a responsibility to protect our environment. We all know about the climate crisis. Increased global average temperatures are beginning to derail our climate and ecological systems because of humanity's reliance on fossil fuels, which pump planet-warming greenhouse gases into our atmospheres. Beautiful species that have evolved over thousands of years are now beginning to disappear because of our disregard for the sacredness of creation. Making this all more painful, we know the solution to these problems. We must transition away from fossil fuels to renewable energies that do not emit these greenhouse gases, while simultaneously promoting equity and justice that address our history of leaving communities behind with unfair environmental burdens. Humanity has its work cut out for itself if we want a future that both protects us and our environment. So what are we waiting for? Why do we stall? Why must we wait for the oceans to boil and for species to go extinct before we can take the bold action needed to take the climate crisis head on? If you're anything like me, I know this must seem scary and intimidating and something too big for us to take on ourselves. So, what do you do when you're facing something seemingly unstoppable that is approaching fast enough that we're going to have to experience it in our lifetime, but slow enough that people can ignore the price of inaction in their everyday lives? I don't have a perfect answer to this question, but I know that as members of the nation family and simply as human beings, we have the responsibility to address the climate crisis in our own lives and not let ourselves become passive victims to climate change. In this last year, I helped organize and speak at 2 climate strikes in Chicago, focusing on divestment from fossil fuels and putting their money into the economy that prioritizes our future and the environment. And you can do these things too, and you must. What we're doing here today, meeting with your elected officials, is so incredibly important. But this should only be the beginning of your work. Remember, the fight for environmental protection is not something that's new. As stewards of the environment, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and we honor them, and we should honor them by carrying on their legacy of advocacy.
That's right. That's right.
Your decision to fight for our future must not end today. Rather, I want this to be what energizes you and pushes you to keep acting when you go back home, what inspires you to act months from now. You can all request meetings with your elected officials at their in-district offices. Write them letters, call them, Organize your community. Ask what your schools are doing to prioritize sustainability. Join community groups. It matters more that you act rather than how you act. I want you to ask yourself, what communities am I a part of, and what communities do you love? And how can you use your role in those communities to make a positive impact on our environment and our society? Future generations will judge us based on how we respond to this call to action, because our futures quite literally depend on it. When I look out at all of you today, I am filled with an incredible amount of hope and joy, knowing that you are all here out of your love and passion for making this world a better place. You all inspire me to keep on fighting this uphill battle, because as Pope Francis says, everything is connected and no one is saved alone. When we embrace our interconnectedness, just as the ecosystems we call home do, we build solidarity among one another and can take the climate crisis head on. You should never doubt the effect you have on others in the world, so let us pray that God might give us the courage to act, the courage to fight for what's right, and the courage to do what it takes to truly care for our common home. Thank you.